I wanted to continue my video series on how to improve egg quality after 40. In this video, I'm going to talk about a test that is really important when trying to conceive. I mean, it's extremely critical. It's a vitamin D test. And did you know vitamin D is also a steroid hormone and that 40% of infertile women are deficient in vitamin D? Let's talk about vitamin D's critical role in fertility, miscarriage prevention, what the correct test that you request from your doctor, and optimal levels for fertility. They're much different than the conventional levels. Stay tuned. Charlene Lincoln, women's health and fertility specialist, first-time mama at 42, using all natural solutions I love sharing with you. So the active form of vitamin D is called calcitrol, and it has many roles in female reproduction. 1. Vitamin D and its receptors are present in the ovaries where they stimulate the production of the steroid hormones estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. 2. Vitamin D receptors are also present in the uterus. And the ovaries, as I said, and the placenta, suggesting that these are the sites affected and impaired by fluctuating levels. 3, the active form of vitamin D, called calcitrol, is made by the endometrial lining and is involved in embryo implantation. And once a woman becomes pregnant, the uterus and the placenta continue to produce calcitrol, which helps organize immune cells in the uterus so that infections can be fought without harming the pregnancy. Pretty important, right? So something to know is that studies are showing that about 50% of the population is deficient in vitamin D. And as more and more couples struggle with infertility, I make sure to test correctly, and optimize levels for fertility on all my fertility clients, both male and female. And of course, my beloved subscribers, that's what I want for you. I want to make sure that you're getting tested correctly and optimized correctly. So before I talk about what type of test to request and optimal levels to aim for, I want to share a really important story. This is going to affect anyone who's trying to conceive. And it's titled, How 60 Nanograms of Vitamin D Enabled Pregnancy. John writes, my wife had 4 miscarriages between 7 to 10 weeks starting in 2005. These reoccurring miscarriages stopped after her vitamin D levels were raised above 60 nanograms per milliliter. Specialists told us that we had unexplained causes for our miscarriages. A genetic specialist said we could never have a boy because of a chromosomal disorder on both her X chromosomes, and 3 of the miscarriages were identified as boys. He goes on to say that after optimizing her vitamin D levels, she successfully gave birth to a girl in 2007, and then guess what? And then in 2010, she gave birth to twin boys. So remember, the doctor said she could not have boys because of a chromosomal defect. Thank you, John, for sharing that story. I mean, so many of us are told by doctors that we can't do this, we can't do that, and they don't investigate properly. And so that brings me to the topic of vitamin D and miscarriage prevention. Studies show that vitamin D deficiency has been linked with higher miscarriage rates. In fact, it shows that among women who got pregnant, every 10 nanograms per milliliter increase in vitamin D prior to conception was associated with a 12% lowered risk of miscarriage. Pretty cool, right? So let's talk about testing and optimization of your vitamin D levels. This is where it gets slightly controversial. Conventional labs look for vitamin D levels between 20 to 40 nanograms per milliliter. So you could have had this test, and if you fall under that, they could have said, you look fine. However, the Vitamin D Council considers anything under 24 mild to moderate deficiency. Interesting. And places ideal levels between 40 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. My mentors that specialize in fertility recommend couples trying to conceive have levels between about 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. And that is a more optimal level for fertility. A quick aside about AMH. If you have recently been diagnosed with low AMH, you'll definitely want to get your vitamin D levels optimized. New research finds that low levels of vitamin D influence AMH test results. In fact, if you have low vitamin D, you could end up with a false positive for low AMH. And just another note on AMH, you can still conceive naturally. AMH is naturally lower in older women, and older women conceive naturally with low AMH all the time. But if you're considering IVF, you do need to have sufficient levels of AMH for them to consider you a good candidate. And so you need to optimize those vitamin D levels. Let's talk about testing. You'll want to request a 25-hydroxy vitamin D test, alternately known as a 25-OH test. If you would like to test in the privacy of your own home or your doctor's being difficult, you can use an Everlywell vitamin D test. I'll put the link below, and it's a private direct-to-consumer lab. Also, I'm going to link an article by one of my mentors, Dr. William Davis, titled 10 Ways to Get Your Vitamin D Levels Just Right. And I'll link to the article below. So if you found this video helpful, I would appreciate that you subscribe, ring the bell to be notified of my next video. You know, I love making videos inspiring women 35 and older. I mean, women of any age, but I know we kind of get it's hard out there when you're, past your mid-30s, you get a lot of negative information, your eggs are old, blah, 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 and not given any real sound advice. So I love to inspire you that you can do this. It just really is just improving your own health, and and that really allows your reproductive health to flourish. So continue to watch my videos and like and comment if you've recently had your vitamin D levels checked. If they were at those optimal levels, you want to go back and look at those lab results, and then you'll want to get them optimized and rechecked. Okay, thanks so much.